welcome to the Explained series from the Raj Malhotra IS Academy. Today we will discuss the impact of COVID on women with respect to Indian society. We know that women are a vulnerable group. They are marginalized in the Indian society with respect to social sphere, or if we talk of economic sphere, or if we talk of political sphere. This is evident from the global gender gap report or global inequality index. We know the position of India with respect to these indexes is that we fare very poorly on these indexes. So we will try to understand that how basically COVID-19 has further marginalized the position of women in Indian society and how existing gender inequalities have contributed to that. Okay, first of all, we need to understand that women is not a homogeneous group. If we talk about composition of the women as a group, they are a heterogeneous section. The needs and requirements of women basically differ according to these groups. If we do a broad classification of women as a group, we know that according to the structure, the women can be classified into rural women and urban women, and according to class, they can be classified into upper class, middle class, lower class, and according to the age, they can be classified into an adult woman or an elderly woman. Even in the middle class, we can further classify into upper middle class and lower middle class. So the needs and requirements of the women as a group they differ. The what are the problems that are faced by rural women? They are not the same for the women from the urban areas. They basically differ. Okay, in the rural areas, they might have a problem of an employment or basically health facilities. Basically, and in urban areas, health facilities or accessibility to health facilities may not be a problem. So, moving on, we know that COVID-19 it is basically not just a health issue. It has given a profound shock to our societies and economies in general and women in particular. We know that our economy is witnessing a downward turn with respect to GDP or with respect to our growth rates, and our society as a whole, if we talk about the other sections of the society also, basically they have witnessed a shock with respect to their position. How we are witnessing basically what we can say inequalities in the Indian society. Okay, if we talk about Oxfam report, the report released by them, the inequality virus, basically they highlight how the existing economic inequalities and social inequalities they have basically deepened in the Indian society. Now, here we are to talk about women. We know that basically, I have earlier also said that women are vulnerable because of their existing gender inequalities that are present in the society. International organizations like UN and WHO or the research institutes like McKinsey, they are highlighting the problems that are faced. Their various reports are highlighting the problems that are basically faced by the women. UN has even called basically the shadow pandemic, they have given a term with respect to the gender based violence that women are experiencing all over the world. The rise in gender based violence, they have given a term it a shadow pandemic. Okay, and they have called upon the respective governments to basically stop or prohibit the basically violence and make it as a part of their plans to reduce the whatever the plans the governments are making to stop the pandemic. So talking about the impact of COVID, we will talk about three aspects: social impact, economic impact, and the political impact. Basically, to highlight here in brief, we all know that basically the various news and in the social media or in the newspapers, we are witnessing the calls with respect to domestic violence, with respect to unpaid work that women had to do, or with respect to restrictions they are facing within the households, or if we talk about economic aspect, the job loss that is there, or the increase in incomes that is leading to increase in poverty levels, then basically how the businesses operated by women, they are basically going down. Here also reports have come with respect to the basically women job loss. Okay, and if we talk about political aspect, we can talk about basically how right to dignity, we will talk about how it is basically denied, how the basically participation of women in electoral process, it is basically getting denied. Okay, so we will talk about all these aspects with respect to the impact of COVID-19 on women. Talking about the first, we will talk about the social impact. So what has happened is pandemic has resulted in is basically there is lockdown last year. Basically half of the year was basically in full lockdown. So basically what it resulted in is it resulted in strict at home rules, social distancing, basically further prohibition on movement. So the women who were already in the basically abusive relationships, okay, or the women who were basically in the households where freedom with respect to raising the voice was very less, or the basically we can talk about the unpaid work, basically that has increased. Basically we can also call it the double burden in sociological terms. Basically double burden is when women have to do the work also and household work also. This work is with respect to job, and another one is basically with respect to the household. So the pandemic and its basically various restrictions brought by it, it has resulted in various social inequities that were earlier also present, but now they have deepened, they have exaggerated. Okay, so we will first talk about basically domestic violence. Women are now facing domestic violence. I've already told you why. First reason is because they are in abusive relationships, or even if it was not present due to the economic uncertainties, due to the job loss, or due to basically decreasing income, or basically increasing poverty levels. This has created anxiety issues within households, a problem of stress and tension, and basically it leads to at the end it leads to violence or alcoholism. The consumption of alcoholism within households, have the reports have highlighted that it has increased, basically, which further increases the frustration and anger due to job loss. We already talked about the decrease in income, the poverty, and increases the frustration and aggression. Further, why are we witnessing an increase in the reporting of the basically domestic violence? Is basically there are the mechanisms to report the violence, basically they are very low. Okay, the law is not on the side of the woman. Okay, basically now the states, we have all, after the reports that came through in the initial phase of the pandemic, then the states have, you must have noticed in the newspapers that states came up with the helpline numbers to report the basically domestic violence faced by the women within the homes, and how states also collaborated with NGOs basically for counseling and basically increasing awareness regarding the rights. So these are the issues basically that are increasing the basically domestic violence within the household. First of all, we discussed this basically the abusive relationships, and the another one is the basically economic basically uncertainty that is leading to frustration and anxiety, and with in addition to it, the alcoholism problem and the reporting of the violence. Further, we need to also talk about is the violence is not only physical. Violence is also emotional, Even the Domestic Violence Act now has been amended basically to include the emotional aspect of the violence. Basically, what happens is when you are a household and you are basically already in an abusive relationship or are facing basically gender inequality within the household, you may witness that there may be a lack of support from the family if you are doing the work in the informal sector, or you have lost your job, okay, which may further lead to mental health issues, or basically your food requirements are not being met. You are last one to eat and you are not able to have proper calorie intake. Okay, your healthcare basically needs are not met, like menstrual hygiene is there, it is not met, or other reproductive facilities that are required basically that are not met, and it further leads to the isolation within the household. Or if we talk about the elderly woman, dependence of the elderly woman on the basically on the household, and in the level of basically what we say decreasing income, and they are considered as a liability, which may further lead to physical violence also, or if there is a neglect of elderly women, it may lead to a mental trauma also. So these are the reasons for the violence that may be physical as well as emotional. I have already told you that UN Women has called it as a gender violence as a shadow pandemic that needs to be basically what we say stopped. Further, another basically another reason for emotional what we say breakdown is also that basically work from home due to lockdown is disorienting for many people. There are people who are extroverts, okay, who like to go outside of the home, who have more social relationships, okay. So in a sudden move they are basically restricted within the households, and due to that basically they what they are witnessing, or if the individual is staying alone, basically they do not have anyone to communicate with, they do not have anyone to share their problems with. So basically this results in disorientation and comfort, basically which further leads to the emotional breakdown. So further, there is an example of it. I also earlier talked about it. That National Commission for Women basically received many online complaints of domestic violence from across the country, especially North India. Punjab Women's Commission basically the maximum cases were reported from Punjab Women's Commission. Okay. Further, if we move about another social impact, that is a basically unpaid care and unequal share in the household responsibilities. Because what has happened is women have been the de facto caregivers. It is a basically their traditional, if we talk about in the sociological terms, traditional role givers. Okay, what has happened is basically the household work is basically considered the responsibility of a woman. It is assumed that basically they are the one who has to take care of the household chores. So basically, the all the household burden, it has fallen upon women. There is no basically help from the other members of the family, and she has now to balance the her professional work also and her household work also, and plus she has also to take care of the sick that are within their household. She has also to take care of the child, which increases the basically responsibilities of the woman. If we talk, if just to give you an example, in pandemic we see that we are sitting on a basically we're sitting in a household house. We're just everyone orders basically, let's suppose mother, okay, of the house, that basically bring us a glass of water, please wash our clothes, please see to our that our clothes are ironed, or please see to it that what we say that food, what requirements are met, okay, the food raw material is there, that is basically in the house. We basically all other basically sit on the sofa and basically order the women of the house that basically bring a glass of water, please check our clothes are washed, they are ironed, or basically the food is cooked, basically, or if there is an elderly woman in the house or elderly person, please that he is taken care of, and basically other people are sitting around. So basically this increases the this has been the adverse impact for the women. If we talk about on the class basis, basically So another this social impact what has happened is that basically the women who are living in the rural areas, or basically in the slums, or those we witness those who are basically migrating, what happens is that basically they do not have much awareness. First of all, they do not have much awareness regarding their basically what we say reproductive need health facilities. Further, if they are even they have awareness, due to decreasing income and poverty levels, they are basically not able to afford these facilities. So the people who are in the basically lower class or the lower middle class, basically, what they are able to is what the problem is they are not able to assess menstrual hygiene and related products. And if there is a if in normal circumstances, if there would have been any problem, for suppose let's they do not have awareness regarding the menstrual hygiene. So if any problem arises, if there is any situational problem, so what happens is they are basically taken to the hospital. But now in the pandemic, in the lockdown, basically hospitals are not, they are not accessible. They are only keeping the COVID patients, or if even they are accessible, people do not have the money. So this creates a problem for the lower class women. So this has been the another aspect of the social impact, what we can say, of the COVID on the women. Next, we will talk about the economic aspect. See, I already told you about in the brief that earlier that women are experiencing job loss, their business, they are being basically shut down due to the basically lack of demand. Okay, so even in the job loss, basically the problem is there are some women who work in the informal sector, and there are women who work in the formal sector of the economy. So first of all, we will discuss that basically the problems with respect to the informal sector. So the problem is basically with respect to informal sector is that informal sector is a low paying, first of all. Then there is an easy entry because not much of the skill is required. Further, poor working conditions are there. Okay, so all these basically they make the condition of the woman already vulnerable. Further, social security is absent when then, and basically the organizations in the informal sector, they are small. They are not able to bear the basically economic brunt that due to the pandemic. So what happens is that when there is a laying off or the firing is done, basically the first people who are fired is basically they are women, because they are it is considered that basically their working capacity is inferior to men. Okay, and further there is also a gender discrimination. Okay, with respect to women, that they should be basically performing traditional household roles. So these conditions basically promote the basically what we say laying off of the women. I have this, we will see here that basically we see women are earning less. They basically, because due to less earning, they save less, and mostly basically what they engage in, because they are working in the informal sector, they engage in contractual, temporary, and insecure jobs. Okay, so what happens is due to this pandemic, they will be laid off, and basically the reports suggest that they constitute about the 65% of the unorganized sector of the what we say employment. Okay, so further if we talk about the what we say business also, we know that the women entrepreneurs who are there, basically they, the major portion, the major what we say their presence in the economic sector is in the food, recreational, arts, retail, and these are the ones which are the worst affected by the pandemic, because in the lockdown food restaurants were closed, recreation facilities were also closed, or retail marketing was also closed. So basically this resulted in the lack of demand, and lack of demand forced the businesses to shut down, and basically they were hit hard. According to the basically if we talk about the what we say NGO there is an NGO engendered which what we say came out with a report that 4 of the 10 working women have lost their jobs due to the pandemic. Even the Oxfam, in its report in inequality virus, it came up with the basically data that in the April 2020, 17 million women lost their jobs. Okay, and this unemployment will result in a loss of GDP of about 8% to India. So we can witness what we say the basically the adverse impact that is basically having not only upon the women who are due to job loss basically are moving into poverty, and due to this poverty they will have to face another problems, like they cannot bear their education expense or the education expense of their children. They will able be able to less afford the health facilities. They will There will be a basically a moment of frustration and anger within the household. They further it will, because they have less money, and they will what we say they will not be able to meet their food requirements. They will not be able to have a proper calorie intake, which will further lead to malnutrition. Okay, and this will further impact their working capacity when the we are even we are out of the pandemic. They will have to take a time to recover. Okay, so this was basically what we can say about the basically impact in the job. We have talked about the informal sector, and in the businesses, we have talked how they have been forced to shut out. Now, if we talk about jobs in the formal sector, see, basically what has happened is we all know that glass ceiling and gender pay gap, they are a reality in the formal, even in the formal organizations. Okay, and women in the formal jobs also basically due to this, what we say, gender inequalities, they are basically concentrated in the pink collar jobs. Basically they may be secretary, okay, or reception clerks, and so on. And when the laying off is done, basically they are the first ones. These jobs are the first ones basically they are that are laid off. Okay, or even in the basically what we say they are working on any another posts, or if there are what we say their laying off is done within an organization. Okay, and they are basically on the jobs that are not at the senior level position. So they will be retrenched and basically forced to go home. Okay, further moving further, see further the problem that another problem the what we have witnessed due to COVID economic problem is there are some women who may have started their new businesses. So what happened is basically they had to consider a scenario where they had to convince their house family, husband, in-laws. Okay, after a lot of what we say convincing, they were able to start their new business. Okay, so what happened due to pandemic is now due to poor, or we say poor economic environment is they have to shut down, and they may never get the opportunity again to do business due to the stereotypes and family hostility, because they will basically they if there is a family hostility in home and they are basically saying that you should perform a role of a traditional caregiver, that you should look after the family and your children, that is it. The one opportunity that was given to you, we cannot do more. So basically that has been lost and you should return to the household work. So that is another problem that we witnessing. This has been already explained by me that basically lack of job will lead to poverty, which will further lead to poor health status, malnutrition, and high dropout rates, and will further impact their working capacity. So, but it is not to say that in economic sphere the impact has only been negative. There is a positive aspect to it also. How is that? Basically, see, after the physical lockdown, the businesses were forced to move online. So it has opened up a new window that has given a flexibility to a woman even in the rural areas. If they are producing some traditional house work like chicken curry work is there, or some pottery work is there, or any another type of business, basically with a small investment, because we all know that basically in a digital sphere the investment is less, and if the digital marketing is right, you can cater to a global market, and with that basically your reach will increase and you will have the more customers. So the pandemic has given an opportunity to women, those who have moved online. Basically their reach has increased, and with that platform they are able to serve global clientele now, and with that basically their income levels have also increased. This has also been witnessed. We see here new trade opportunities have basically opened up with the penetration of digital networks, and businesses have moved online, and they can showcase their products basically at what we say less cost. Moving further, so this was the basically economic aspect to it, and now we will move further to the political aspect of the COVID-19 and its impact on women. See, what happens is basically we have already discussed all these things are basically impacts are connected. See, what happens is that as the social, just give me a second, as the social basically inequalities they have increased. So what happens is basically they are an infringement on the freedom of the woman. If their domestic violence is being witnessed in the household, basically it is the not only in violation of the law, but it is also the curtailment of the freedom of the woman. Okay. Further, the unpaid work or the unpaid household work, that is also basically her violation of the right to equality. Okay. Further, exclusion in economic activity is also basically denial of her rights to participate in the economic activity. So this is a first political, basically, what we can say, adverse impact of the COVID-19 on women, that basically their freedom has been restricted within the household due to the strict controls on the mobility, or if they are entrapped in the abusive relationship, there is a domestic violence at home, or they are not able to fulfill their food requirements, calorie intake, okay, or if there is a isolation of them in the household, or if due to some any problem or poor business environment or family hostility they are not able to participate in the economic activity. This is basically a denial of the rights. Further, another political aspect is basically they cannot practice their right to vote in elections, basically in the name of the public health. See, what happens is, no doubt elections are taking place in India, but what has happened is that if there are five members in the family, what the scenario has turned out to be that three male members are being allowed, that we will go and have a vote. There is a no need basically for all of the family individuals to vote. Okay, so this has restricted their right to what is a participation in the election. They are not being able to vote. When they will not be able to they will not be able to vote. So they will not be basically able to make a case for their issues, and basically when they will not be able to make a case for their issues, basically their interests will not be represented. Okay, and they will have to basically what we say, their participation will be in further activities, it will also be denied. So this has been the another aspect of it. Further, moving on to the political impact, what has happened is also with respect to this, that increasing economic precarity, basically in what we say economic increasing economic vulnerability conditions, and return those who have been kicked out of the basically, or those who have been forced to what we say leave the jobs, they have been basically made to return to the traditional gender roles, basically a traditional household work or taking care of the children and the family. So what has happened with this is this has offered a less time to engage in the electoral politics. Or even if we talk about the woman who is working, in her basically job work, what we say, she's doing the work from home, and she's also doing basically the household work. It has given the very less time to women to the engage politically. How basically they are not able to keep tab of the political issues, or what basically what is the campaign that is done by political parties, or what is being offered in the election manifestos. Okay, they are not able to keep on the political developments basically because of the lack of time, which further this takes their, what we say, participation in the electoral politics. Or even the women basically who are contesting, or who are doing the campaign work, basically they are also encountering a lot of problems, because basically political parties, they have failed to provide the support for the caregiving. Okay, they are not basically, if there is a single woman who is supposed to say she is campaigning for some political party, okay, and the proper child care facilities are not there, or the political party is not adhering to the, what we say, COVID protocols, or if there is a, what we say, lack of crèche facilities are there. So all these basically things, basically they restrict the participation of the women in the electoral, what we say, politics. Further moving on, see, women who are contesting, because physical space has been shunned out, campaigned, we have witnessed that even in the recent elections, we have witnessed that the campaigns have moved online, that on the Twitter, on the Facebook, or any other social media platform, how political parties are aggressively campaigning on these platforms. So women who have basically, they are contesting and have, what we say, moved to the online space, what they are witnessing is, they are witnessing the sexual harassment by cyber trolls, okay, or the threats basically that they are facing on the online platforms, that have increased. Further, there are also some women who have less access and familiarity with the online platforms and social media tools. So even in the rural areas, see, if someone is a, what we say, is a panchayat member, or at a low level party worker, and is an illiterate, she is not being basically in a position to, what we say, to move her campaign online, or to participate in the political activities on the online platform. So, or we know that basically digital penetration of internet, basically it is not fully there. So basically what it helps is that non-elite women, the lower or the lower middle class women, basically they struggle to participate and receive information about the political process. And basically they are, this is how their exclusion happens in the political space. So I have already told you that basically online campaign has increased the vulnerability to the online harassment. There are threats. There are basically, what we say, threats. They are that they are so basically, what we say, concerned that basically the rape threats are being given to the women on online platforms, or nude photographs are being shared. Okay, so this is a level of basically harassment that the women that are there, who are doing online campaign, that they are witnessing, or some fake news. We see that basically it is circulated with respect to a female candidate. Okay, further, if we talk about another political aspect, is basically we are all witnessing basically the inadequate access to healthcare facilities with respect to beds, medicines, oxygen. So basically, it is a Supreme Court has said that basically everyone has a right to live with dignity under Article 21. Basically, the denial of health facilities and not being able to access to even a bed, who is what we say, COVID positive, or okay, or basically who has not able to access to the proper medicines like remdesivir, that is being in demand nowadays. Basically, it is a denial of the dignity, right to live with dignity. So that is another political aspect of it. Further, another aspect, this is a very important aspect, is that exclusion from electoral politics will reinforce the gender stereotypes. That is how basically, when women will not be able to participate in the electoral politics, it will be basically men dominated, or we can say male dominated political space. Okay, when there will be a male dominated political space, obviously the issues and needs of women group, they will basically be ignored, or even if they are represented, they will not be properly represented on the in the parliament or in the state legislatures, and the proper solutions or the holistic solutions to the problems of the women, that will basically be not be there, and the problems will continue to exaggerate in the future also. And with the reinforcement of the gender stereotypes also, this will further create a basically what we say reinforcement that women should perform the traditional roles that are basically household givers, or basically they should perform the pink collared jobs. But there is also a silver lining to it, obviously, because there is also a positive aspect to it within these, that how the management of pandemic by women leaders basically all over the globe have shown that they are better at leadership roles. Basically, the most successful management we all know that in the New Zealand by the New Zealand Prime Minister, or if we talk about the Germany, their handling has also been very well. Both the countries headed by the women representatives. This has also brought a silver lining with respect to it. But with this, we should not basically forget what we say the deeper issues that with respect to the common woman that they are facing, that the exclusion, the lower middle class or the lower class that they may face with respect to the exclusion from the electoral politics. So this was the basically impact we have discussed about the social impact. We have discussed in social that how domestic, what are the reasons for the domestic violence, or how basically unpaid work is basically putting a burden on the health of the woman, or how basically there are emotional trauma that they are facing. In the economic aspect, we discussed basically how there is a job loss in the formal sector, and in the informal sector also, how basically the existing businesses, they are basically being what we say shunned out, or how basically the women who had a once in a life opportunity to start a business, they are being back to the traditional housegiver roles. Okay, and in the political aspect, we discussed about the exclusion from the electoral politics, about the right to live with dignity, and about how basically the online harassment or the access to the online facilities is basically hindering the participation of women in the political space. So now we will move to way forward. Basically, what should be done? First of all, the major aspect is that the judiciary should play an important role in addressing these issues. That they should take the suo moto cognizance. Okay, with respect to the domestic violence cases. Sorry. Okay, as done by the basically Jammu and Kashmir High Court, they had done it. Basically, they also set up a fund to basically help the women who are facing the gender-based violence. UN has also set basically suggested to the governments that basically whatever they are planning to do to stop the pandemic, gender-based violence should be a part of the pandemic plan that should be done. Further, there should be a participation of NGOs and civil society to offer online support and counseling to women, okay, or basically who are facing like I had already told you that who are doing work at home are facing disorientation. Basically they should help those, or basically they should regarding the awareness with respect to their rights, okay, so that they are not able to so that they should not face domestic violence. Further another sorry Further, another basically measure is that social security measures, that women should be, they should be given some direct benefit transfer or cash compensation if they are basically laid off, so that they can support their livelihood or the hospital expenses. We have so many existing schemes basically going on in the started by the government, like even with respect to insurance also, there is basically insurance is there with respect to deliveries is there. We can incorporate some of the benefits to what we say mechanism. We can devise a mechanism, some sort of, that there some sort of direct benefit transfer is basically transferred to women. Further, we should widen the reach of the food security program. Like there is a National Food Security Act. For some time, we should basically increase the what we say the number of basically kilos of rice or wheat, whatever we are providing to the basically poor household, and those who are basically in the lower middle class or basically those who have been shunned out of their jobs, they should also we can also provide them food security. Okay, that should be done. Further, the women who are women entrepreneurs, they some incentives should be given to them, like tax break is there, or basically if they are hiring more women, if the number of women is more, you can also give some sort of subsidy, some another sort of compensation to them. Okay, further we can also give tax incentives to companies for retaining the women employees. Okay, or government can pay for basically the child care support facilities within the organizations, so that basically the costs of the organization is what we say diminished. Those who are working in the informal sector, basically they are the ones who are in migration, those who are returning to their household, we can give some sort of direct and benefit transfer to them, so that for the time being they are able to support their household. And further, most important, we should expand the access to the child care facilities, as it will enable the women to be in labor force. Because see what happens is, in these times, mostly basically if there is a nuclear family, both the husband and wife are working, and they will, even if the wife earlier was not working because due to tough times, if she now wants to work, basically the child care facilities will go a long way in supporting the participation of women, as she will not have to worry about who will take care of her child. Okay, or if the see if the scenario that if the child care facilities are not there, even she wants to, but she cannot participate in the what we say the economic activities, so that can go a long way. Okay, earlier I also talked about that they can also be created, or the government can subsidize the companies about it, so that basically what the cost of them is diminished. Okay, the cost of companies is diminished. So these are the way forwards that are there. So in the conclusion part, we can say that basically inclusive and gender-based policy making, it is a key to the empowerment in this women empowerment is in these tough times, as well as the objectives of the national women policy in the long run. So that is the basically conclusion. Because see, last year 2020 was the 25th year of the Beijing Declaration. Okay, and it has also marked the 110th year of the International Women's Day. So our goal of gender parity, to achieve gender parity, it should not be pushed aside in these tough times. Rather, through inclusive and gender-based policy making, keeping these as a priority, uh, this goal should be further prioritized, so that women in these tough times they can be further empowered, so that their role in the further what we say in the coming years is more prominent, and basically not marginalized within the Indian society. So that will be all for today. Thank you so much.